Holy hell. This is going to be a shitload of fun.
Yes! Oh my god!
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Hey guys, Jim here. Welcome in once again. Today we're going to be taking a look at an absolutely extraordinary, mind-blowing beauty of a knife that's going to be from Fanatic Edge. Now that may not be a name that many of you are familiar with. Some of you absolutely are. This is something I have wanted to get under my lens for a long, long time. And the knife itself is really, really cool, but this is so far beyond what the knife is. This is about the finishing. This is about the detail work. This is about the aesthetics and the beautification that this knife has gone through as a custom option. That I got to tell you right now, the look of this knife, the way this was executed, absolutely blows my friggin' mind. So before we open this up and I get into it, I just want to tell you right away, you need to go visit Fanatic Edge right now. Pause the video, go check out what they do, because it is so much more than what just this knife is. Because they started out as knife modifiers, and they partner up with a lot of great brands, which we'll talk about here in a few moments, and a lot of great custom makers, and offer custom variations of the knives that are already being put out there. And you can send in your own knife to have cool shit done. You can buy one of the collaboration pieces, or you could buy one of the Fanatic Edge knives. Now, with that out of the way, let's get into it. First off, the packaging. This is one of the stickers that comes with it, and you can see the Omen V2 right here. This is a pretty wicked design. And I gotta tell you, while normally I want a box or I want a padded pouch, I'm a tattooed person, so I kind of like that tattooed lifestyle. I kind of like that whole vibe, and this has that vibe down. I love it. I think it is the coolest thing in the world. These pouches are made by Dragon Cut Design, and I'll put Rick's info in the description as well, because he does really awesome leather work and other cool custom things. And I've known Rick for, oh my God, well over a decade, probably a lot longer than that. And he's a super great guy. And I love this pouch so much that I actually talked to the owner of Fanatic Edge. I'm like, because I, for some reason, didn't look at the tab that was hanging off there. I'm like, dude, give me the contact info for whoever made these for you, because on the future production knives that I have coming out, I really want to do something like this. These are super, super sweet. So anyway, let's get into it. The inside is a nice microfiber material, which will preserve the finish of any knife that you put into it. And there it is. I just want you to soak this in for a minute. Oh. Are you ready for this? Just look at this. Absolutely friggin' gorgeous. And you know what? The knife itself ain't bad either. But for me, as much as I liked the knife, it really is about the finish work. And that's what Fanatic Edge is known the most for. Look how cool that is. What a wonderful juxtaposition of styles. You have this oil slick finish. We'll talk about all the finishes in a moment, the actual names for them and stuff. This is his toxic finish. And then the milling, and then the Timascus pattern done in the milling. So you've got this wonderful juxtaposition of dirty and grungy and nasty, and then so elegantly beautiful that I swear I hear a choir of angels singing in the background every time I look at it. That's what makes this knife so incredibly unique, and why I fell massively in love with it as the very second that I opened up that pouch. Let's get the important stuff out of the way right away. This is the Fanatic Edge Omen V2. This is the second generation of the Omen. The base price for a base model is $365, which is a very, very, very affordable price. And then you can add pretty much anything you want to it in his long list of modifications. The owner of Fanatic Edge, his name is Andrew McIntyre. He's a pretty young guy, super great attitude, really, truly just loves knives. And you can see it in the workmanship that he's putting out in this particular knife right here. And these are actually produced by Riot. So what this is, it is a three-way collaboration. Well, really, it's a two-way collaboration, and then they paid for manufacturing, so it's not co-branded. And I'll talk more about that collaboration in detail in a few minutes, but let's get the specs out of the way first, because that is a long list of shit. So boom, right over here, you got a titanium frame lock. Your overall length is 7 7/8 of an inch. Blade length is 3.5 inches. It doesn't seem like a 3.5 inch blade. It appears to be a lot larger than that, but it's not. Your close length is 4 7/16 of an inch. Blade material is Elmax steel. Blade thickness 155 thousandths of an inch. Blade hardness is set to 61 to 62 Rockwell. All of your hardware on this knife is T8 titanium, steel lock inserts, ceramic bearings, ceramic detent. I love the fact that they're using Elmax. You don't see Elmax that often these days. We're beaten over the head every single day with M390, M390, M390 everywhere. 20 CVs sometimes. S35VN, S45VN, we're starting to see a lot more Magna Cut now, but Elmax, it's like people forgot the beauty of Elmax and what a great steel it is. So as I was starting to touch on a moment ago, Andrew began as a pimper or a knife modifier, whatever phrase you want to use when you're talking about them. So he was doing sharpening for other people. He started sharpening his own knives, learned how to do that well, and then he started a sharpening service. People could send in their knives to have them sharpened, and he kind of got off to a rocky start. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, but he worked through those growing pains, and he's built up a pretty good reputation. Then he partnered up with his very good friend who owns they deal with firearms finishing and custom mill work and things like that. So he had access to more machines and could do more things. So then he started doing anodizing, milling, laser work. And then he's made his way into collaborating with some really great makers and some really great brands, and soon developed his own designs and started producing his own collaborations as well. And this is one of them. The Omen is a collaboration with Elijah Isham, and then OEM'd by Riot Knives. So you've got the design work done by Andrew and Elijah, and then manufactured by Riot. And so you know that being made by Riot, your action is going to be flawless. Your lockup's going to be flawless. The blade finishes are going to be amazing. The grinds are going to be amazing. The fit of everything is going to be top tier, top shelf, and it's going to be somewhat affordable. And that led the way for them to offer a fantastically made knife right out of the gate. You know, he didn't have to sit down and learn how to become a knife maker and go through all the trials and tribulations that come along with that. He says, I'm going to do what I do best. And I'm going to do these extraordinary finishes. He does multicolor anodizations like a boss. He does just incredible work. Go look at the body of his work that he has on his Instagram and his website, and you'll see what I mean. So he was able to offer a bunch of different variations of this knife once they were completed. Now, he surprised me. I didn't know what finish he was going to do on mine. When I reached out to him, I'm like, man, I really, really want to get my hands on one of these. I think they're super cool. Let's do something together. And a few months later, this shows up. Not because it took a few months to make it, because he forgot about it and it was left sitting on his shipping table for like 4 months. But what surprised me was the tone, the finish, everything else. And he really understood what I love in knives. Sometimes I love really super overly done, dressy, full Timascus, crazy shit. And sometimes I love down and dirty and user finishes. And he combined them both. So it's got his toxic finish throughout the lock side, the back spacer, the pocket clip, the pivot on both sides of the pivot, and the main portion of the presentation side. Then he does his starburst pattern milling, which always looks good. Even if there's no anodizing colors, it looks really good. Then he does solid colors like blue or purple or green, or he'll do multicolors. But this one he did in what replicates the look of Timascus. And when you move this in the light, it acts like Timascus. And then you have the addition of all the edges of each of the lines of milling that catch the light. And it just dances and creates this beautiful starburst that is absolutely, truly unlike anything else that I've had in my own collection. I don't know why this camera just keeps jumping and jumping whenever I'm switching back and forth. Okay, let me give you a nice long view. Come on, stop jumping. Thank you. This thing has been a real pain in the ass to deal with. I apologize, guys. So sorry for that. All right. So where was I? Oh. Let's talk about Elijah Isham for just a moment. And I do realize that this is a difficult subject for a lot of people because he did just recently pass away. And people have varied opinions on his passing. I'm not really going to get into that. It's not my business. I'm not going to make any assumptions about the man. But typical of Elijah's designs, this has a very slender handle. And this was the biggest reason that I wanted to get one of these in my hands, because I looked at it and went, I love that blade. I love the blade shape, the profile, the grinds, everything about it. But that handle looks way too skinny, especially for somebody with my large hands. Like, it looks like it's too dainty and skinny. Well, how do I put it? Elijah had long but slender hands, and he would tend to design based on his own hand size instead of taking a lot of other people's hand sizes maybe into consideration. So a lot of folks are going to feel that this is too skinny. Now, he had an incredible mind for complex lines, intricate beveling, small details like pivot collars when a lot of people weren't doing pivot collars, properly matching milled clip to complement the overall design of his knives. Unfortunately, in a lot of cases, he preferred to lean more toward form instead of function. Like I said, the stuff that came out of his mind in so many cases was truly brilliant. Look at the We Knives projects that he's done and everything else. These skeletonized frame locks and crazy, crazy things. It takes a very powerful design mind to do the things that he did. Whether you like his designs or not, whether you felt they were too overdone or not, you can't deny the fact that the creativity was absolutely stellar. One of the things that I didn't appreciate in a lot of his designs were the harsh edges. And this knife certainly does have its fair share. All the way around, it's lightly chamfered, but it's not softened at all. So you feel edges all the way around, and you're also going to feel where his design comes to points. You're going to feel these things in your hand. The other thing is the flipper tabs. He does have a tendency to make awkwardly angled, very sharp flipper tabs. This, in all honesty, instead of curving forward, should be angled back just a little bit and then lightly rounded right there. And that's probably something I'm going to do to this knife just to make it more comfortable for me. Now, if you're just flipping it every now and then, it's not a big deal. But if you're the kind of person that really likes to sit there and fidget with their knives and play with them, and you're flipping them over and over and over just to get the feel of it, where you're pushing, you are literally digging a triangulated corner into your finger. It is pushing directly into your finger, and it doesn't make any sense. So that was something that he liked to do a lot. He liked that sharp, edgy look. And that's just the way his work was. So I get why he did it, because it creates a hooked finger guard. But that's the other part of the problem, is he's locking you into where you have to hold the knife. It's like having really severe, big finger reliefs, big finger grooves in a knife or in a gun, anything that you're gripping. It could become problematic. Let me just quickly show you another series of photos, because I really want you to get a sense for exactly how this knife looks from every angle. There, I think you get a better idea now of what I'm talking about. His design language is beautiful. It's very angular. It's very fantasy-like. Yet it's still put into a pretty practical knife. But he likes the sharp edges and bevels and everything else. And sometimes that would conflict with what a lot of collectors or users wanted to have in their collection. So, yeah, he kind of forces your hand where he wants it to be, instead of making it comfortable maybe for the masses, as it were. But that doesn't mean he was a bad designer. It just means he took very, very specific creative choices. And if you didn't like it, you just didn't buy it. That was the way it was. And he was a wonderful success at what he did. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for the work that he did, what he accomplished, the incredible designs that we now have in our collections that we get to see live on through Isham Blade Works and through the collaborations that he's done. So this is not going to be your EDC knife. This is not a super comfortable knife. It's not uncomfortable for carrying and using a little bit, but you're not going to sit here and cut down cardboard for an hour or take this to work and do a full day's work with it in your hand. It's just, it's too skinny. Your hand feels a little too cramped. You don't have the freedom to move around like you'd like to. And everything from the pocket clip to the spine of the handle, everything's a hot spot. But every time you look at this, every time you pull it out and feel the action, every time you see the finish work, no matter which variation you go with, even if it's just the completely plain titanium, you're going to look at that and go, holy shit, I am really, really glad that I've got this thing. Let me grab my scale real quick and we'll do some comparisons and we'll do some weighing and see what you guys think of that. Because this is not a tiny knife. It's not tiny by any stretch of the imagination. Let's get the weight done first. always helps if you hit the right button. Come on. All right, so you know what? Oh, there we go. Now it's in grams. Boy, oh boy, what a day. I don't really want grams, do I? No, I don't. There we go. Pounds and ounces. I'm sorry, guys. All right, 4.7 ounces. Let's give you some comparisons here against the Jaeger M at 4.3, so it's a little bit heavier than the Jaeger M. Significantly heavier, a full ounce heavier than the Nimble. So, two knives that are very similar in their overall size. One a little bit more of a direct comparison, and then one quite a bit smaller. There we go. Look at that. Nearly identical to the Jaeger M. And there you can see it is considerably larger than the EMP EDC Nimble. Here's where you really see how skinny the handle gets. But I really, as much as I'm harping on it, I'm doing so because I want you to have a true understanding, because you're probably looking at it the same way I am, going, is that too skinny? I do want you to understand that, yes, it is really, really skinny. Is it too skinny, however? No. Again, for a work knife or something that you know that you're going to go out today and do a lot of cutting, yeah, just carry a different knife. We're collectors. This is not the only knife you're going to have. You've got 30 other knives or 100 other knives or 300 other knives to choose from. So do that. Choose from those. But for just carrying around, if you happen to need to cut something, great. It's an incredible show-off piece. Like I said, even in the plain titanium, they're beautiful. Look at the compound grind, that deep, deep hollow, the full flat at the tip, the nice top swedge, the way that they intersect so beautifully. Great edge, by the way. It's nice and sharp. It's not laser sharp, but it's absolutely useful sharp. And because of going from the hollow to the flat, even though it gets very pointy and stabby, it's got a nice supported tip to it. So it's going to be very, very easy for you to use no matter what you want to use it for. Now, some of the brands and makers that Andrew McIntyre has worked with through Fanatic Edge in these collaborations and modifying their designs have been Ramon Chavez, Something Obscene Company, Brian Brown Knives, VDK Knives, Gavco, Adam Purvis, A. Purvis Knives, Arcane Design, Berg Blades, Koenig Knives, Vero Engineering, and probably more that I can't even think about. One of the examples is with these Brian Brown Jaegers. He does this cool, the golf putter pattern that we've seen from Oz Machine Company that's been really, really, really popular on the Roosevelt. He does a golf putter pattern. He did a limited edition of these knives with that golf putter pattern, and man, were they friggin' cool. It's probably a version I'm going to end up buying for myself because my Jaeger is one of my absolute favorite knives. I really enjoy the shit out of that knife, and he's done some really cool work on those. A lot of different anno colors and things like that as well, but that was one that really popped out to me. I think it's super cool. And funny enough, when I was messaging back and forth with Andrew, he told me that he initially got interested in knife collecting and custom knives by watching my videos, specifically the my Todd Bag Bodega Big Red video. And I thought that was really cool. I love the fact that I've been able to share my love of knife collecting and knife making with so many people, and that at some point we've taken part of this journey together. You and I, all of us together. We've grown together. We've had some of these common interests. We've had very opposing interests as well. Like, I can't stand front flippers, and a lot of you guys love them. I've enjoyed watching a lot of people evolve. Yes, by the way, I cut myself with the Jaeger when the blade dropped on my thumb. That's how sharp that blade is. I've watched a lot of collectors evolve. I've watched a number of knife makers that went from not knowing a lot about knives, just having a basic interest, to watching my videos and learning about knives and learning about all the cool things that exist out there and becoming interested in growing as a collector, and then that inspiring them to become a knife maker or knife modifier or any number of things. And man, that is one of the coolest, most fun things for me. So when he told me that, I was really flattered by that. I thought it was really, really cool. And you know what? I'm glad. I'm glad that I had a chance to play a small part in somebody's fascination with knives that led them to making something that's this visually striking. And I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know that I'm ever going to get bored of this knife. Every time I look at it, I fall in love with it all over again, like it's this extended honeymoon period. Every bit of the finished work that he's done, every bit of the work that Riyadh has performed, I'm absolutely in love with. And I think a lot of people are going to feel the same way. As a matter of fact, I told you guys a few months ago that I was looking at, that one-of-one prototype that I have from PMP Knives, that the Alpha Beast, the one that's like 400 thou thick, that absolute monster. It's all just in plain titanium, and I've been trying to think of something cool to do with it to make it unique. And I'm talking to Andrew about making a matching knife just like this in that, because I think this on such an enormous platform would look really, really wicked. And I think the part that still surprises me the most, that I had not seen him do before, was do this Damascus look with the laser engraving inside of the starburst pattern. The milling is precise and it's beautiful, but it's the colors that he managed to pull out of that honestly, even under my studio lights here, I cannot get to replicate perfectly. When I took this outside the day that I received it, and I shot a quick video and I put it up on my Instagram, I think that was the best representation, because out in the sunlight, that Damascus look just screamed. And I love the low-key look of the toxic finish as well. And no two knives will ever be alike. Even if you commissioned him to make you an identical knife to mine, it still won't look the same, because that toxic finish is a random finish. You're going to get, and the colors are very, very subtle, but the colors, the splotching, the pattern is all going to be completely random and different from knife to knife. Now, how does it carry? Actually carries really well. The pocket clip is done well. It's not a struggle to get in and out of the pocket. The fitment of everything, the back spacer, the flush fitting pivot and hardware, everything is done wonderfully. It has a nice feel to it in the hands. Yes, it's skinny. Yes, it has some corners and edges and things like that. But again, this is not your only knife. This is going to be another addition to your collection. And I'm going to tell you right now, you need one of these in your collection, because it's a jaw dropper. No matter what finish, no matter what configuration you get, it's a jaw-dropping design. And I'll be honest with you, I've kind of gotten used to the way that it feels in the hand. I still wish that, again, that flipper tab wasn't like that, and I could just kind of, my finger would go up just a little bit more, and I could spread out a little bit more. Like when you're laying on your bed on a hot summer day, you got the ceiling fan and the air conditioning on, and you take your pants off and you just spread out on the bed and let nature blow its gentle kisses on you in your nether regions. You just spread out. You want to spread out sometimes. And I kind of want to spread out a little bit more on this knife. But there is good news for those of you that do have large hands, because coming soon, there's going to be an Omen Max, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. A 4-inch blade instead of the 3.5-inch blade. That means everything's going to grow. You might grow a little bit. Everything's going to grow. Everything's going to get bigger. And that, I want to, holy shit. I want to see this crazy aggressive blade in a 4-inch blade. Oh my God, how mean is that going to look? How intimidating is that going to look? And he's going to do a 3.2-inch mini that will not have a flipper, that's going to have thumb studs. So then again, no need to worry about how pointy the flipper tab is, and no need to worry about how it may restrict your grip, because there won't be one. It's just simply going to be a thumb stud opener. So anyway, my God, stop jumping like that. What the hell is wrong with you? That's my take on the Omen V2. Yes, I'm absolutely blown away with it. Yes, this is an overly gushing review because honestly, I'm still shocked. Every time I pick it up and I look at it, I'm shocked at the detail work. And when you go look at his website and you look at the cost of these services, you're going to be shocked too. Because you would think, well, there's probably a good $600-700 in additional work on top of the $365 knife. Well, shit, that's too expensive. Now I could buy a custom knife for that. No, it's nowhere near that much. This prices, I'll be honest with you, are a little bit low, a lot lower than I expected, but a little bit low in comparison to what I've seen other people charge for milling and anodizing, things like that. So, yeah, I think you're going to be wonderfully surprised. So you have a mission. Whether you get an Omen V2 or not, look through your collection. Look through your collection and find a knife that will make a good canvas for him to work on. Something like this. Plain titanium, give him a blank canvas to work on, and if you can't think of something creative to do, just tell him, hey, you know what? Pimp that bitch. That's just write that in the email. Pimp that bitch. Do a maker's choice. Just say, I want to be blown away. Here's maybe some colors that I enjoy or patterns that I enjoy, but hey, whatever, man, you do your thing. And I promise you, you're not going to be let down. He is going to surprise the shit out of you and do something better than you probably could have thought of on your own. That's my thoughts on this knife. I'm going to get out of here for now. Otherwise, I could literally sit here for an hour so easily and rave about this knife, rave about the action, rave about the finish work, and the uniqueness in the way. See, here I go again. I'm literally going off on a tangent from another tangent. Anyway, I love the knife. I think it's fantastic. I look forward to doing more work with Andrew on other knives. And just a sneak peek for you guys. You guys know that I have 7 or 8 projects in the works right now for my own designs, my own folders, my own flippers. And I kind of just like dropped it, into conversation with Andrew. I'm like, hey, maybe at some point I could order like a handful of additional knives and send them to you, and you could do a Fanatic Edge variation of my knives. And he didn't seem too terribly opposed to the idea. So I think that's going to be something I'm going to look forward to doing in the future. Because remember, the first thing that comes out is the Airwolf. I'm really excited about that. That's going to be a really good platform, a really good canvas for his work. And the Caladan and other knives that I have coming in the future, I think that there's going to be some pretty cool limited edition variations. And I have to thank Andrew again for doing this up like this, because it really did blow my mind. And it takes a lot to impress me. I've got a lot of beautiful custom knives and many more that have gone through my hands, and some great productions and mid-techs. And I've seen some really great finishes. Not only do I love the finish, but I think I'm so startled by the finish because of how low the pricing is for each of his individual services, that I didn't really expect anything like this. So this is an absolute keeper in my collection, and I look forward to carrying it more. Thank you guys for sharing your time with me, and I'll see you on the next video.